All right. So let's see who won. Now when we score by the individual. You don't add up your score with your opponent. You were competing against your opponent, right? All right. So the highest possible score could be 15, right? So who got 15?
Well, this is the thing is.
We played 3 rounds, and it's possible to get 5 points each round, right? Did anyone get 15?
That's the game.
Did anyone get 10 or above? You got 10 or above? You got 10.
Wow.
Did anyone get, I don't know, 8 or above? 5 or above? 5. All right. We got lots of 5s. 7. 6. All right. Anyone get like a 2 or below? Okay.
She doesn't understand game.
Let's stop a minute and think about what this means. I mean, what do we mean by a low strategy and a high strategy? I mean, if you think about it from a game theory perspective, you often have a lot of choices before you play that game, whether the game is competitive strategy in business or football or poker or whatever you're playing. You've got a strategy you can play. We've greatly simplified this into a low strategy or a high strategy. If you look at the payout in a low strategy, if you play a low, you can either get a 3 or a 0. I'm looking at it from an A's perspective. If you play a high strategy, you can get a 5 or a 1. So if you are A, we call high the dominant strategy. Because regardless of whether B chooses low or high, your high is always going to get you something better. 5 is bigger than 3. 1 is bigger than 0. So to play high is your dominant strategy. But what happens when you both play high?
You get 3.
You get very little, right. The pot is different. If you look at the total number of the prize here, that's 6. The total number here is 5. The total number here is 1. And there are situations where something like this happens, where if 2 competitors play an aggressive strategy, the pie actually shrinks. We see this in high tech, we see this in telecommunications, we see this when competing standards prevent the customer from making a decision. They delay their decision. Or we see this when you go with the pricing strategy. If you go for an aggressive strategy, people say, oh, it's too high. I'm not going to go with that. I mean, there's different ways to play it, and not all games are structured this way. But
if you play it any other way and you don't collude and break laws, you're a chump, right?
Right. That's right. That's right. There are other things that in play as well. Now, how many of you ended up as your 3rd round in this corner? Most people. Right. Okay. So that's yeah. Now, how many of you in your first round went with the low strategy? Okay. Did any of you start with the low strategy or did any of you switch to a low strategy after having played a high strategy? A few people. Okay. So I wanted to give you a taste of game theory, but I want now to do something a little different. Let's see how many people are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16. So we're going to do something a little bit more complicated. It's the same setup, but what's going to make this a little bit more interesting is in the last game, you knew who your opponent was. You introduced yourself. You sit next to that person. In this game, you are going to play 3 rounds, but you're not going to know who your opponent is. And you can potentially have different opponents for each round. We'll do 3 rounds again, but each person will get 3 cards, 1 card of each color. And on that card, you will see a number and a letter. The number tells you who your opponent is. So for example, if you get 8B, you are competing against 8A. You just don't know who 8A happens to be. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So each person will get 1 card of each color. We'll mix this up, and we'll make sure that people get a different card. Just make sure you only get 1 card of each color, and we'll play 3 rounds, and we'll start with the blue round. Does that make sense? So each person will get, just make sure you have 1 card apiece. It's just like the payouts are going to be the same, but what we're going to do is we're going to play against an unknown competitor. So when you get this card, when you get each card, write your name across the top.
Does it matter which side?
Please write it above the letter, above the, whatever the number is. So write your name on top of the,
Which side is it?
right, it'll just make it easier to tally up. Does everyone have one blue card? Great. Think of your strategy. Let me put the payout matrix back so you know what you're dealing with. So decide on a strategy. Just write down your strategy, L or H. Just write it down. While you're deciding on that strategy, I'm going to pass out the pink round. Same thing. When you get it, write down your name across the top and decide on a strategy. And again, you're playing 3 rounds, same payout, but you don't know who you're competing against. This is the big difference. And we're going to do the same thing here for the yellow round. Just take 1 card, please. Write your name across the top, and just simply decide on a strategy.
But it could change each time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay? Great, great. Now I'm going to need your help to tally this up, because tallying it up is going to be a little trickier because we've got all the cards spread out. So after you decide on your strategy, let's do this. Let's have all the pink cards accumulate on this side of the table. And if you guys here could help sort of match these up and score them, I'd appreciate that. Oh, you didn't get a card?
Yeah, I didn't need a pink and a
You
yellow.
didn't get it?
We're missing pink cards? I thought I passed out.
Up here.
Oh, okay. Is there an extra pink card?
I can't take her in.
How about an extra yellow?
How about a yellow? You guys want to pass this?
Yeah, an extra yellow. I passed out exactly the number of cards as there are people. Oh, we got stuck. Okay, cool. All right. So each person should have 1 card of each color. Right? And on each of them, you should have your name and a strategy. But that's it. That's it. Right? And after you've done that, after you've got your name and your strategy on it, let's have all the pink cards end up over here, all the blue-green cards end up back there, and all the yellow cards end up over here. And I need your help. I want you to match these cards up. So, for example, on the yellow cards, put the 11A with the 11B, and please score them. Use the matrix to score them. And I want you to write down the score. So as an example, so it should look like this.
And all these go that way.
So you have to match up the cards. You have to match up the cards, and you should see the name.
These are all, so you mean like 5A, 5B?
Correct. 5A should be matched with 5B, and then you should score them. At the bottom of each card, you should write a score.
So Howard, I would say that while the people are doing the scoring, an example of, a real-life example would be in the airline industry,
Please more.
where if you watch the airline industry, every once in a while, their prices tend to be very closely ranged and very competitive.
Right.
And then once in a while, one will kind of pop up and say, I'm going to charge a little more.
Right.
And then sort of wait and see what the rest of the crowd does. Now, so they raise their price, and a couple days later, maybe the other major airlines raise their price, or maybe they don't.
Maybe they don't.
And if they don't, the first guy always drops back down.
Right. Right.
And that would be a very good example of someone trying the high out and then going back to the low.
That's
Because
right,
like it
that's
says, if you it's great to get 3 every round,
Right.
instead of fighting over who's going to get 1.
Right. That's exactly one of the things I wanted to illustrate with this, which is in game theory, and the way you compete often is determined by how many rounds you are having. Okay, have all the scoring been done? No, not yet. That's fine. It looks like we're done over here. So here's the. That one doesn't have a name.
It may be on the back.
Okay, good. All right. So here's the third part now. We're going to pass the cards back out, and please pick up your own cards. So now you will know how you scored. Because up until now, you don't know how you scored, right? Because how you score depends on not only your play, but your opponent's play. So please pass the cards around and pick up your cards. Each person should now end up with 3 different cards that you started with.
Mine's, actually, he's got.
Yes.
By the way, is this a realistic scenario? When you play, but you don't know your competitors? Is that, do you always know who your competitors are?
Unknown, unknown.
That's right, that's right. It's sometimes, you kind of know, but it's like you don't know because it's so fast. By the time you know who your competitors are, there's really nothing you can do anyway. So, you know, it may not be entirely unknown, but it's like you don't know because...
Sounds like
Yeah, you're not paying
I see
attention.
Neil in there.
Sorry?
Sounds like it's government job.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so everyone, so please pass the cards back around. Everyone should end up with 3 cards,
No, I read about it.
1 of each color.
The one with their name on it.
With the name, yes, thank you. That was, I should say that explicitly. You should end up with your own card, the card that you started with. And after you do that, add up the 3 numbers and see how it compares with the 3 rounds you played on the white card. And you can see what we're trying to get at here. Same payout, right? The same set of numbers. You know, everyone is up for the same game.
I think I know what you did.
Now, for the second game, who played a high strategy?
Philistines, the lot of you.
Who played a low strategy?
Just to throw a curve. He's consistent.
And after you've gotten your 3 cards, add up your scores and compare it to how you did on the white card.
Same score.
Well, I didn't have to play against Doug, so.
Where's the blue then?
Yeah, are all the stacks making their way around? Here we go.
Oh.
Wow, actually got some
Oh.
Let's see, it looks like...
I got 0. Oh, look, I got 0.
So who did better the second game?
Gary?
Wow.
Gary.
Is that expected?
Significantly better.
Significantly better. Your score went up from what to what?
3 to 9.
9? Who did better than 9? How high did you get?
15.
You got 15. Wow! So you played high each time.
And you didn't know how to play.
You threw 3 passes and I didn't.
That's the answer.
Wow! So a bunch of you are sitting on a bunch of zeros, I guess, from that.
Oh, yeah.
Total?
I got 0. 1.
I got 11.
So it sounds like most of you actually did better on the second round than on the first round. Is that right?
Yeah.
Who did better on their first round? Interesting. And how many of you did the same? Okay. So most of you did better. So I went through this exercise to talk about a couple of things about game theory. There's a lot of things that we can do about it, or we can talk about it. But a way to experience this is a good way to talk about payouts, talk about dominant strategies, and talk about what a game is. A game is an interaction where the result is not just you doing something, but a lot of times the result that you end up with is not just based on your actions, but it's the actions of your competitors or the other players. So I just wanted to get you familiar with some of these things around game theory. Let's see, we did that. So let's talk a little bit about alternative futures. This is something that I've done with a lot of different clients, and it's actually based on something that Shell did many years ago. Yes,
I was just plug in one more example
please.
of the game.